Hi, my name is Mr. John. I welcome you to my study room. If today is your first time, then kindly consider subscribing to this channel for more videos. Thank you. Today's study is going to be on collinear points. Three or more points are said to be collinear when they lie on the same straight line. And collinear points have the same gradient. So let me just state those key points. So collinear points lie on the same straight line, and also they have the same gradient. How do we know if two or more points are collinear or not? The first thing we need to do is to find the gradient of the line these points make. After finding the gradient, we come to the following conclusions. If we have equal gradients, we conclude that the lines are collinear. And if we have different gradients, we conclude that they are not collinear. Now that we know how to determine if three or more points are collinear or not, let's take some examples. The very first example said, determine which of the following points are collinear. So I'm going to do the very first one, then I'll leave the rest for you to do. You pause the video and do them and compare your answers with mine. We established early on that 3 points are collinear if they lie on the same straight line. And for that matter, I mean that they have the same gradient. So what we are going to do is that we rename the points. Alright, so we have renamed the points A, B, and C. And then we will conclude that if these 3 points are collinear, it means that the gradient of AB will be the same as the gradient of BC. So that is just what we are going to do. We are going to find the gradient of AB. And we know we've already learned how to calculate the gradient of the line joining 2 points. In case you've not watched that video yet, you can go back and check. But then the gradient of a line joining 2 points is the change in y values over the change in x values. As I always do, I will go and name the coordinate of the points. So x1, y1, x2, y2. So we are here to find the gradient of the line AB, or the line joining the point AB. And the gradient is changing the y values over changing the x values. So that will give us, let me just write that quickly, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And this is going to give us 3 minus 2 over 5 minus 3. And 3 minus 2 is 1, 5 minus 3 is 2. We now find the gradient of BC. Using the same formula, the gradient of BC. Let me change my naming now because the B becomes our first point and C becomes our second point. So we are going to have now x1, y1, x2, y2. So fixing it into this formula, our y2 is now negative 2 minus our y1 is 3, then our y2 is negative 5 minus y1 5. this will give us -5 over -10, which will give us 1/2 also. So we conclude that since the gradient of the line joining the first 2 points is the same as the gradient of the line joining the second and the third point, then it means that they are on the same line. That is why they have the same gradient. Therefore, A, B, and C are collinear. And don't forget that I named them A, B, and C, but the original points were not given name. So don't forget that. I'll give you some time to do the B, C, and D. You are just checking whether they are collinear or not, following my first example giving. So you can just pause this video and then check if the points are collinear. After working, you see that the 3 points for B are collinear because you are going to have the gradient of the first 2 points to be 5/2 and the gradient of the second and the third point also being 5/2. Then you see that C is not collinear because the gradient of the first 2 points will give us 2 and that of the second and the third one will give us -1. So they are not collinear. Then our D is collinear because the gradient of the first 2 points will give us 4/3 and the gradient of the second and the third one is also 4/3. I hope you got all of them right. Good. If you don't get them right, just take your time and work them again using the gradient formula or how to find the gradient when given 2 points, and take your time. Feel free to give me a feedback if you have any challenge. So we take another example. Our second example says the point 2A, -2, 2, and 3A9 are collinear. Find the possible values of A. The difference about this is that they have already told us that they are collinear. That's the first thing. Then the second one, some of the coordinates of 2 points are missing. Because we are told that these 3 points are collinear, we are just going to work the gradient of 2 of them at a time, and then after that we equate them and make A the subject. That's what we are going to do. We are first going to let the point be A, B, and C respectively so that we can use them to work. So now that we've named them, we are going to say that if A, B, and C are collinear, they mean that the gradient of AB will be equal to the gradient of BC. That's the assumption we are going to use to work now. If AB and C are collinear, then the gradient of AB equals gradient of BC. That means we'll be having 2 minus A over -2 minus 2 being equal to 9 minus 2 over 3a minus -2. It means that 2 minus a over -4 will be equal to 7 over 3a plus 2. By cross multiplication, we're going to have 2 minus a times 3a plus 2 being equal to 7 times -4, because this one comes to multiply this one comes to multiply this. By expansion, you're going to have 6a plus 4 minus 3a squared minus 2a being equal to -28. By simplifying like terms, you are going to have -3a squared plus 4a plus 4 equals -28. And this is a quadratic equation, so we arrange them in a way that we will have a squared term followed by a term and then followed by constant term. So that means you are going to have -3a squared plus 4a plus 32 equals 0. Then I don't want my first term to be negative, so I'm going to divide through by -1 to get 3a squared minus 4a minus 32 being equal to 0. Then since this quadratic equation we are solving, we have to factorize. So factorizing, we are going to have a minus 4 multiplying 3a plus 8 equals 0. And this one, I didn't take my time to do it because I already have a video on how to solve quadratic equation. So I encourage those who have problem with how to factorize this one to watch my video on quadratic equations, and then I did one using the factorization method. Then you see how I factorize this to get this so that we can move forward faster or to get more understanding. So for the product of these two to give us 0 is either a minus 4 equals 0 or 3a plus 8 equals 0. That means our a will be equal to 4 or 3a will be equal to -8. And our a dividing through by -3 will give us -8 over 3. Then we'll conclude that therefore the possible values of a are 4 or -8 over 3. And this is where we end our lesson on collinear point. Just a way of recap of everything we did in today's study. We started by saying that 3 or more points are said to be collinear if they lie on the same straight line. And because they lie on the same straight line, it means that they have the same gradient. So if a question asks us to find whether 3 or more lines are collinear, we just have to pick any 2 of them at a time and find their gradient. And if after finding the gradients are the same, it means they lie on the same line. So they are collinear. We worked examples to demonstrate this, which after giving you these 4 questions, I answered the first one and left the rest for you, but then I have the answers here which I asked you to compare. Then we didn't, and then we asked another question where you'll be given points with some of the coordinates missing, and they tell you that they are collinear. And we solve by saying that because they said they are collinear, we are going to put 2 of them together at a time and find their gradient and equate the gradient. And after equating the gradient, we will be able to make the variable given the subject to find the missing number. And in this example, we found a to be either 4 or -8/3. I hope today's study has been of help to you. If yes, why not consider subscribing to this channel for more videos? Thank you and hope to see you another time in my study room. Bye bye.